Conch stands and businesses are just about everywhere. But my guest was one of the first in the industry, and he's been able to expand his business here and abroad. Now, his name is Kirkwood Ricardo Evans, but you know him better as Goldie. Welcome to our program. Goldie, welcome to Legends, the Untold Story.
Thank you for being here.
Now, tell me about your childhood as we start off and some of your earliest memories.
Well, as a kid, I grew up in Andres. My dad was never around, so I grew up with my grandparents, which is Charles LaFleur. And my grandmother was Mary Markey, which my grandfather Maria, she was from Barron Pine, Andres. And growing up as a little kid, not much schooling. At the age, I think, 12 or 13, I had to come to school. My grandfather took me in the farm, burn coal, pick peas, corn, all them different stuff. And he said to me one day, out of the blue, he said, my name is Kirkwood. He said, Kirky, see, I know you think I hard on you, but I'm not hard on you. He said, teaching you in days to come, without education, pickaxe and shovel gonna be a tool. He said, you mightn't understand what I mean by that now. He said, but in days to come, you'll understand. And this is a true story I'm telling you. My grandfather died in 1977. My grandmother died in 1982. I come to Nassau, live with my aunt. She had a fruit stand on Porterski Dock, my mom in the States. So I see her sometime every year, sometime every other year. But my father, I never saw my father till I was 17 years old. So when I came to Nassau, after a few years, she tried to put me in school, but I didn't see no reason to go into school. So I never went. So everything I learned on the street. So one day I heard that Kelly's Lumber was hiring. So I went up there, they needed a truck driver, so I went up there looking for a job. And when I went there, the position I went looking for was already taken. So this old white man, he said, man, you from the island, we need people like you. He said, we have an office position. I said, Lord, help me. I said, Lord, I know office material. He took me in the office room, started to ask me. The first question he asked me was how much feet in the yard. With my brain going all the way around and I couldn't figure out how much feet in the yard. And he said to me, he said, boy, I really want to hire you. He said, but you're ready for this position we have. I walked from East Street on to Woodford, went straight down Woodford, crossed over Blue Hill Road. When I reached my college of Bahamas, where Markwell Pharmacy is now, it wasn't no pharmacy there. My grandfather appeared in front of me just like this. I had to stop. This is a true story.
This time he was dead.
Yeah, he's dead. He appeared in front of me just like this. He said, Kirky, I tell you, in days to come, without education, pickaxe and shovel gonna be a tool. And he disappeared. I cried, and I left my hands up like this. I said, Lord, I said, I don't have it up here. I said, I need you to bless these hands. And from that day to this, I could tell the world, these hands are blessed. I'd say from God first. Because without him, it's nothing. He blessed these, and everything I venture into, it comes with success.
But you do have it up here now, because you couldn't have built the business you have if you didn't, right? But those years in Andros, and what part of Andros were you from?
North Andros.
North Andros,
Comes
right?
on, my dad was from Muscat Point, my grandmother was from Barron Point.
Yeah, so you learned the benefit of hard work and discipline. Because to work hard constantly, you got to be disciplined.
Oh, definitely, I was. Yeah. And I always say to myself, I told my daughter a few weeks ago, no, about a week ago, because I was in Andres over the holiday weekend for a day. And I told her, just looking at Andres and coming back to Nassau, I said, I need to see my grandfather again. And I want to live a life to see him again, to tell him thank you for what he instilled in me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have real gratitude, man.
Yeah, man, I thankful. I have to see him again.
Wow, great. So now you told us that you were, when you first came to Nassau, you were working with your aunt, I think, at a fruit stand.
At a fruit stand in Porterski Dock.
So is that what got you in the idea of setting up your conch stand, and how did that come about?
Well, she was, back in the days, they was only selling conchs and fish on a piece of, pallet, put a piece of plywood on the top of the pallet. And one day she just told me, say, you can learn something. You aren't going to be a bum man, for the rest of your life. She said, you go in this fishing boat so you could learn how to dive or how to catch conch or whatever else. I went on one trip on my cousin boat, UD Roll, to Berry Island for conch. And I won't tell you where, like, after that trip, I said that'd be the last time I go on a fishing boat. I puked from we leave the harbor straight to Berry Island, and every day I was seasick.
So Andrus, man, like you can't take the seat?
I can't take no seat. I ain't taking the seat. But I learned what I needed to learn on that one trip. When I come back, my aunt make me open up a little store selling conch and fish, and that's how I started out.
And that was then at Porterski?
Porterski. And I left Porterski after they had the first conch poisoning. I left Porterski, and they was trying to get us to go to Simnett Shipyard, which I didn't want to go, on the farmer's market. And I think that was the first one. Then the second conch poisoning they had, which like every other year we was having conch poisoning. During the summertime. The second time they wanted to send people to Awaki. But by then I was already driving trucks. I'm a heavy equipment operator also. And this guy called B-Man, understand, he was from Bibbity. I used to drive my tractor trailer. And I ran him, even before I get to that, I got too fast. Before I get to that, I end up on the side of the road on Blue Road. That's where I get the name Goldie from. Of course, where Foygi Restaurant is, in our Quality Home Center under the red light. Yeah. That's where I get the name Goldie from. I pull up my van on the side with a table, some bucket and umbrella, big 55-gallon drum with water so I could change water frequently. And the little kids that pass every morning, I had a bunch of chain on my neck, and I had one gold teeth in my mouth. And every morning they passed, said, hey, gold man, and I'll hear. And one day I just went to the guy with his do painting, and he painted on my van, Goldie Fresh Conch and Fish. Oh. So the little kids from S.C. McPherson gave me the name Goldie. And then they had another conch poison, so they saying the people on the side of the road ain't washing the conch clean, they ain't getting enough water. And I wasn't one of them. No, but... I wasn't one of them, but the innocent suffer for the guilty. And when I went from there, I went into driving trucks, and that's when I meet B-Man, and me and him went into... I started working, before I worked for him, I said, listen, he was selling like sometimes 4 or 5 conchs a day on Awaki. I said, when I come here, I guarantee you I can sell like 50 to 100 conch a day. He said, that's impossible. I put up my sign, Goldie Fresh Conch and Fish, and people would drive through Awaki and see me out there. And the first day, I think I sell like with 40-something conch. Wow. He was like, man, you well known. And it went from there to 200, 300 to 700 to 1,000. And he never lived up to the agreement we went. So I went across the street and I put my little stand over there. He was probably jealous that you was doing so well. We got to take a quick break, Goldie, and we're going to go back to how you got to Arawak Key again. Stay with us. We are hearing Goldie's untold story right here on Legends. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, Goldie, you told us how you moved to Arawak Key, and you sort of put who was going to be a partner, this guy B-Man, to shame, because you had, and this is because you had already built up personnel, a kind of group of customers from when you were on the side of the road. Yeah. And they actually looked for me, you know, and when I moved across the street, a table, an umbrella, and like 2 or 3 buckets, that's how I started on Fish Fry. Wow. You know, people come there today and see what you have now and think it come overnight. But, you know, my grandfather always say, you only reap what you sow. If you don't sow, you aren't going to reap. And I try to build that into my kids.
Now, around what time, what year was that when you moved to Iraqi?
I've been out there now like almost 36 years.
Wow.
So, you know, that's a long time.
Wow. And about how many people were actually out there when you were there? Obviously, it looked nothing like it did now.
I meet a few people out there before I get there. I wasn't the first one, but I did a lot of promotion out there, make me look like the first one out there. I bring music. I was the first one with electricity. I was the first one did a lot of stuff, start cooking, you know. So basically that.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, let's talk about what the business is like. About how many people do you cater to? Because, I mean, when you talk about Iraqi, you're one of the first businesses that people think of.
Yeah.
About how many people do you cater to, let's say, in a day?
I'd say a couple hundred.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you've expanded so much.
Yeah.
Now, what's the, if you could, what's the key to making a really good conch salad?
Boy,
If you don't want, if you don't mind sharing your secret.
I'll share it. You know, making conch salad ain't just chopping up stuff and throwing lime and orange in conch salad. You have to, you know, you have to have love and, you know, even like cooking. When you cook, you gotta cook with love. When I make conch salad with love. That's why if you come to my shop, like I have two guys being there, like Dwayne, and we call him Redhead. He's been with me like for 36 years, as long as I've been on Fish Fry.
Actually, I thought he was your brother at one point.
See, that's how long they've been there. And like me, the Godfather, I don't know if you could remember back in the days when they used to have competition. Nobody never beat me. Skin conch the fastest, make the fastest conch salad. And my legend, I'll call them too, Dwayne and Redhead, they was with me. They just as fast as me, or maybe not faster. I don't know if you remember when they went around the Bahamas, trying the fastest conch skinner. I was the champion for what? Maybe more than 10, 15 years. 17, I think I did it in 17 or 18 seconds. Then what his name is? Guy from Porterski Dock come around and, what his name is? Can't recall his name with my head. He come around and beat me in 1 second. And I watched that over and over, and I think we basically was tired, but they tired of me holding the crown, so they decided to give it to me.
Now, how many people do you employ right now? Because, like I said, I noticed you keep expanding because you've gone way back onto the actuals into the sea almost now, right? About how many people do you employ now?
I'll give you a little insight, and then you could maybe kind of tell how much people I employed. I pay NIB with between 6,000 and 7,000 every month.
Wow, and hey, that's an example right there, because plenty of people, businesses, they ain't paying NIB.
I pay
so listen to Goldie, pay your NIB,
yeah,
all right?
NIB. I bucked my toe a couple of times, and I'm glad I have my daughters and my wife and family, you know, in my business, and they make sure.
And it is a family business.
Yeah, it is a family business. They make sure we do things by the book. It ain't back then when I wasn't doing things by the book. Everything is going by the book.
Now we got to remember too now, and this is where, you know, you obviously have the business head. What made you expand to Florida? Because you moved, you're not there now, but you were in Florida from when to when, for how long?
I was over there for more than 10 years. More than 10 years. I went there, I don't know if you could remember back in the days, man, like, you know, Bahamians, I love my Bahamian people because they made me who I am today, and I thank God for that every day. But you know when Bahamians lie and you take the blood of Jesus to wash it off, man.
That's up, man.
They spread rumors me back in the days, you know, I this, I that. I don't want to go into details.
You don't have to.
And I went to Florida. And from the day I opened up my business in Florida until the day I closed, I made more than $10,000 every day in Florida.
Wow.
And I opened up a lot of Bahamians in Florida, because a lot of Bahamians ran after me,
Right.
trying to do what I do.
So really, even though they may have had some Bahamians who lived in Florida doing something, you were the first one who was from here, living here, who took his business over there.
Over there, and had a great success. Even I went to the Keys, people from Key West know me. I went to most of the festivals. I'd line like over 100 people, and you had all kind of people selling food, and my line was the longest line to every festival I went to. And they say if Goldie ain't coming, it's like it ain't no Gumby, it ain't no African American heritage, you know, like the Fantasy Fest, and I did all of them. And all of that make me popular and whatever else. But you know, I go in and I cook myself and do stuff myself.
Do you still you don't have to now, but do you still every once in a while just to show them, hey, I could make the boss conch salad right now?
All right, listen to me. I say you don't never forget where you come from. I don't care the way I dress. I don't care what I do. And if somebody come in and say they want me to make their conch salad, I get up from what I do and I go and make their conch salad. Sometimes I go there when I get busy. I clean fish. I knock a conch, and then when people tell them, oh, that's Goldie there, because they ask, like, who's Goldie? And I'm cleaning fish or knocking conch or whatever. So you got to stay in your business, and once you don't forget where you come from, you can't go wrong.
Let's talk about conchs. Well, first, before we go there, what do you think about, I'm sure you offer it, but what do you think about this tropical conch salad now?
I had to do it because it was a demand that people asked for it, but between me and you, I feel like conch salad should be lime, onion, pepper, sweet pepper, orange, and lime.
Hey, with you on that, bro.
That's what I think conch salad should be. And I wasn't doing it, and I was losing business, so I just decided I got to please the people. That's what they want. You
got to do it for them.
You got to do what you got to do.
Now, we're not hearing too much about conch poisoning these days, not as much because the scientists are doing a little bit more. They know how to deal with it a bit better. But what do you think about conch supplies? Because, you know, we have a closed season for grouper. Do you think that the supplies are dwindling and people bringing in too many small conchs? Do you think we're at a point where we need to make conchs seasonal or no? I
wouldn't say that because even though you see a lot of small conch coming, there's mature.
Okay.
Certain part of the island, you know, we have 700 islands in Keys, the Bahamas. And different islands have different size conch. Like you go to Berry Island conch don't go no bigger than theirs. And they mature, they old.
Okay.
You go to Eleuthera, you get a lot of round shell conch. Now they go to normal size. And the reason why I could tell you with conch, because I went to take some cakers. We're there at the conch farm, and I study conch. Conch is between 18 and 20 months to be mature.
Yeah, so it's true. It's the size of the lip and everything that matters.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't think the Bahamas will ever run out of conch, to be honest with you.
We'll have a real riot then, man.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It'll go far for them, but I could tell you what's going to happen. In another couple of years, you can mark my word. I mean, and conch salad going to be way more than what it is now.
Wow.
Yeah. Right now, I think I sell conch salad for like $15 with VAT, is maybe with $17. You got people selling conch salad for $20 and $22 and $25.
That's true. That's true.
You know.
That's true. That's true.
You know, but I don't see conch going in season.
Now, do you get your conch from all over the Bahamas or just specific? And you send people out to get it because you ain't going on that boat.
I send people out to get it, but I ain't going on no boat. You don't have to worry about that. I ain't going on no boat. But I have a guy in Abaco that sends me conch, and during the summertime, I have to cut off from him because during the summertime, they send the conch live, and by the time you throw them in the water, in a day or two, most of them dead. So I have this guy during the summertime. He goes out every day, bring me like 200-300 conch, and that's what I do during the summer.
And you use 200 to 300 conch a day?
Yeah.
Gone?
Yeah.
Wow. Stay with us. We're going to have more with Goldie. We're going to talk a little bit more about his family life after this. Great, we are continuing our conversation with Goldie. Now, you, from what you've been telling me, you're obviously a dad girl. You have 6 daughters?
Yeah, I got 6 daughters.
Wow.
And I get my first son in a week.
Wow. That's amazing.
He'll be coming in another couple of weeks.
Yeah, we all pray for a wonderful and healthy arrival.
The reason for that is too, I mean, and you know, these girls, I love my daughters, but I got 2 of them already changed their name. They take my name and throw it in the garbage. You know, so my son gonna take Evans on forever. And hopefully you have some sons to take it on, you know.
Let me ask you this though. With 6 daughters, that has to be a real challenge. And obviously you're in their lives in a big way. How difficult was it? Running your business, making sure that your daughters were being taken care of, not just financially, but emotionally and spiritually.
Well, my kids could tell you, I mean, you know, we grew up in the church. You know, their mom was which was my wife, was a good woman. We bring up our kids the right way, make sure they get a good education. You know, and I always say to myself, I don't want my kids the struggle, the way I struggled, you know, growing up without a father figure. At some point in time, I ended up leaving when I had to go to Miami. But they was still teenagers, which and I think I should have stayed a little longer to been more in their life than it was. But, you know, whatever happened, happened for a reason. But they know I was a good father, and they'll tell you today, you know, they always say I was the best dad in the world.
And they've all become successful in their own right.
Yeah.
What are the age ranges?
Kirkland is 37 this year. My twin girl's gonna be 35, 36. Then I get a 20-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
And now you have
In
one coming
the same
by summer?
next month. Yeah, next month.
Next month.
Next
Okay,
month.
so that would be we're shooting this in April, the end of April, beginning of May.
Yeah.
That's
May,
great, man.
the one
Congratulations
coming.
to you.
God is good.
How much, you obviously had your grandfather and grandmother who were really vital in your life, but any sadness about your dad not having been in your life?
Yeah, it was kind of, you know, like I think all kids want to see their dad. And, you know, I'll never forget, I came looking for my dad. He was in Nassau. I went looking for him. And at one point in time, which was Petania Towers, which is now Atlantis. He was, my dad was a pastor, and he was a builder. And when I went looking for him, he was on Paradise Island working. But when I saw him, I knew he was my dad. I went looking for this man, which was Dudley Evans. And I knew he was my dad, because him and my brother looked exactly like. I said, excuse me, sir, I'm looking for Mr. Dudley Evans. And he was like, that's me. I said, my ma tell me you was my pa. Bohemian, that's the way we talk.
Yeah.
He was like, which one you is?
Wow.
I said, it's Kirky. And he'd never learned my name, Kirkwood, until I had to correct him. I say, I tell you Kirky, but my name is Kirkwood. He always called me Kirky.
And did you foster a relationship afterwards, or
I
didn't?
Kind of, you know. And I sit down one day and I talk with him, because he found it, you know, I had my little business on Awaki and whatever else. And it wasn't no big red. Let's start. I had a little thing going on, you know. And he'll come around and I tell him one day, I sit down and I tell him, I say, listen to me, man, I love you. When I needed a father, he wasn't nowhere around. And we're gonna build this relationship, but if you need anything to eat, I'll buy you whatever you want, but don't ask me for no money, because I ain't give you nothing. And I still end up giving him money, because he was my father. It's hard to know that he ain't got no gas, or he need this, and you know, so I still end up giving him money. Yeah. So in other words, you try to be hard, but your hard don't allow you to be hard, you know? You know, when these old people instill in you can't change who you are.
That's true.
And I can't change who I am, man.
Yeah. Let's switch the conversation a little bit now to Arawak Key and the state of Arawak Key now. How do you feel about things at Arawak Key, the way they're run? What do you think needs to be improved? What are your thoughts?
Well, we have a good president of it, which is Rodney Russell.
He's very visible, Snapper.
Larian, yeah, it's Snapper, everybody knows that. Larian Larimore, which is the vice president, you know. We try, and I swear we try, but, you know, when you don't have everybody together, it's kind of difficult. You know, we trying to get everybody on one accord, and I feel like if the government allow us, or our president, to be in control of our key, I think we could do better. I could remember when Earl Hall was president before he passed away. You know, the government allowed us to control our key. We was paying for our own garbage. We was paying to keep the bottom open. I know plenty times I was the one who buy tissue and stuff for the bottom course.
Yeah, but sometimes not the bottom never open.
Bottom, I don't know what the bottom is there for.
I felt really badly one time I saw this very old white tourist, and you could tell he had to use the bathroom badly, and he went there and it was closed and he just didn't know what to do. And that should never happen.
I see it happen all the time. I stand outside sometime at the tourist crossroad to use my bottom. Sometimes a lot of business owners get mad at me when I go lock my door. I just feel like in business you you have to make your customers happy. I spend money, I figure out a way to put bottom in my place. I mean, come on.
You ever had to go to get a loan from the bank, or you
I ran
self-generated your money?
To be honest, yeah. And you know, in business, 90% of businessmen bug their toe. And that's why I tell them I'll never, ever, ever. I don't care what Bank of the Bahamas rate go to, I'll always keep Bank of the Bahamas.
All right. Well, that's a good ad for them.
I tell them I don't care what their rate go to, I'll always keep Bank of the Bahamas. And the reason for that is Paul McQueenie at the time was the GM of there. He was a good friend of mine, and he looked out for me. Even when I went to Miami, he said, Goldie, we have a Bank of Bahamas, and I think it was in Coral Gables or someplace over there. Put some of your money in the bank over there. I refused not to. I ended up coming back home. Still had to go to the bank to borrow money. And Bank of Bahamas, they was there for me.
That's great.
They was there for me.
I got one more question on Arawak Key before we go into our last segment. What are your thoughts about the security issues there? Because every once in a while something pops off.
Security issues is a big problem. And we want to say don't blame the government, but I think we have to blame the government. Rule number one. During the Red Cross Fair and any kind of activity government is having on Arawak Key, hundreds of police are present. When I say hundreds, I mean like 20, 30, 40 police are present. You understand? The government on holidays, on weekends, Arawak Key is full of people, Bahamian and tourists. I'd say 70% of tourists that come to Bahamas come to fish fry, which we need to protect, both Bahamian and tourists. And I feel like if police present, undercover, cover police, walking around showing their face, Arawak Key will be safe.
All right.
And the reason for that is, you know, you walk around and you come to Arawak Key, you sit down, you could get a police quick if you call 911 and you call Arawak Key police station. You call Arawak Key police station, only me one year I can't leave. Yeah, then when they come, they'll ask you, why you on call? You call, you can't get them. Come, but time they don't come, you don't get yourself in problem or something done happen. I don't know, man. We just have to, you know, go back to the government again and see if they would do what we're asking for.
It's an ongoing effort.
It's an ongoing effort. My president fight until they finally moved the gate. If you could remember, they want you to pay bills. The gate is closed.
Yeah, it's
Mother's Day, you come in there, the gate is closed. Imagine you bring your mom or your aunt or somebody, but you want to pull right up and drop off. When you pull up, gate closed.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Run to that end, you got to drive around, and you know how much accident I see they had one way in and one way out. You got to turn around, people end up bumping your car, marching your car, trying to get in the fish fry. So they finally get it open. But police present and put up some more cameras so they could actually see what's going on and make sure they're working. That'd be the best thing for fish fry.
Amen. We're going to be back with our last segment right after this. We're finishing up with Mr. Kirkwood Evans, Goldie. Mr. Evans, any regrets at all?
Actually, yeah and no. The way I run business years ago, the head I have now, if I did years ago, it would be different. So that's the honest regrets. I regret, you know, not doing things the right way. But now that I have my daughters, them, and my wife, and everybody else, and I feel comfortable, man. I'll do things a little different, but basically the same.
Yeah, but that's the benefit of experience, huh?
Yeah.
Great. Well, we know you're going to continue to do well, and we're really, really honored that you would come on this show, man, because you are a legend. You definitely are.
And I appreciate you for allowing me to come on the show, because, you know, a lot of times, you know, we want to get our flowers while we living. We don't want to wait till I die and then everybody, oh, Goldie was this and Goldie was that. Give me what you want to give me now. Tell me what you want to tell me now. And I want to say, you know, since this is the last part, you know, I always put God first, whether you believe it or not. I don't care what people say with me. I always put God first in my life, and I realize you know, things have been changing and God have been making way out of no way. And thanks, you know, my Bahamian people which supported me over the years, and I want to continue to thank you all and, you know, continue to come in and continue for blessing me. And thanks, man. That's all I want to say, you know. Thank you for a lot. Thanks a lot, and thanks for allowing me to come.
And we thank you for joining us, and we'll have another interesting guest next time on Legends, the Untold Story.